Hey, welcome everybody to the Sharpe Way show. I am very happy that you have joined me this evening. Thank you so much for giving me a few moments of your evening. And I think I have a cool show today. Maybe not, but I'm pretty sure I do. And if you think I'm going to have one, then do me a favor. Since you like my show, like, comment, share. It does matter. Let people know that we're out there so they can see us and start talking cool stuff about us. I am very, very lucky this evening. I have with me a man who is a crypto entrepreneur, an activist, a podcaster, all kind of cool stuff. The man himself, Rob McNealy. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you doing today, Larry?
I can't hear you. Your mic just went off.
Can you hear me now?
I just heard you a minute ago. What'd you do? We were talking before the show.
I didn't.
And now all of a sudden your mic is off.
It didn't do anything.
Now, well, I was kidding. I actually don't have Rob. I have just his face. You can look at him. And if you want more on him, head over to robmcnealy.com and you can check out his podcast. But right now, I can't hear him at all.
That's not good because I'm here.
Rob, can you pop in and pop back out?
Yep. I'm sorry. Yep. Just 1 second.
Before I lose half my audience. Thank you. Guys, stay with me. This is actually something very interesting. So it's good. All right. Are you good there, Rob?
I am. How about that?
Okay, maybe it's me. My audience is saying that they can hear, so maybe it is me.
That would be horrible.
Ah, there we go. Now I hear you. You good?
I'm perfect. Well,
and also now I can't hear you again. Maybe this actually is me. Hold on, guys. This actually might be my issue. Hold on. This actually might be my issue. So let me hold on. Let me give you this right here. This might be my issue. I think I am going to have to do the old school, guys. See if this will work.
So, hello, everybody in the audience.
Let me see if I can go old school for a second. Oh, hold on. Can you talk again?
Hello.
No, I had to make some changes. I'm blaming you, Rob, and it's all my fault. I apologize, brother. All my fault.
I'm used to it. Everybody blames me, but that's okay.
There we go.
I was libertarian for a long time, so we get blamed for everything and don't do anything.
You are still libertarian. I'm not letting you go, so stop. You are still one. I have decided so. I've deemed it so. I want to say something important to you, though.
Yes, sir.
You are working in the crypto world, but this is not an investment thing for you. You're actually trying to make crypto money.
Yeah.
And that's not what I hear. Most people who are doing this, they are literally doing things like, hey, I just want to make a cool investment. I want to do something cool. You're actually trying to make money. You're doing it in a way that I think is very special. You are focusing on specific industries, which are basically red flag industries. And tell me about that.
So the big thing in crypto, right, is mass adoption. This is like this holy grail unicorn thing where every day people start using crypto for payments. But the one thing that's the problem, it's like the emperor has no clothes, is that pretty much nobody is buying anything with crypto. And It doesn't even matter if you go down the list on CoinMarketCap on the top 100, and really nobody is. Now, yes, I know that there's the occasional person buys a pizza or what have you, but in the grand schemes of transaction volumes and things, it's not really happening. It's minuscule.
Yeah.
And I think there's some specific reasons for that. But when we started our project almost a little over 3 years ago now, we said we wanted to answer that question: is why hadn't mass adoption occurred? And so we went down this kind of like, I made it into like a research project because I'm like an entrepreneur. I'm not a developer, but I see things, and then I'm like, I want to understand why this hasn't happened. Bitcoin had been around 9 years at that point.
Yep.
Was hundreds of millions of dollars in market cap at that point. And we came to a couple conclusions, and maybe some people in your audience, especially certain project maximalists, won't like us, and I respect that. But we are not competing with Bitcoin or Dash. We view our competition as Visa and MasterCard and Venmo and PayPal.
So hold on. Let me walk down that road for a second. I mean, this is not what people say, which is why to me this is so interesting. Most people say, well, let me find something that will compete with Bitcoin, because then I'll be able to make tons of money and such. But I think your point's a valid one. The average person who buys crypto, it's basically an investment for them, or it's, or maybe even a status symbol in theory. right? It's either an investment, it's an investment or status. They're buying Bitcoin because they want to be cool like McAfee, or they're buying Bitcoin because they're going to make a killing in 5 years from now. Now, I got to ask, when you started talking to people about this, did they think, no way, you're nuts? Did they think, why?
So, when you start off, we were originally an Ethereum token, and then later we built our own blockchain and then swapped over and where we are, got to where we are today. But ultimately we said the Holy Grail to me in crypto is still payments and solving that financial freedom element. And we said, so our focus has been, how do you close that last mile of crypto adoption? Okay. And I did coin that term. So a couple of years ago, but I like it. And so we said, look, the couple of reasons, like you have $1 billion market cap projects that have no customers.
Yes.
And they've been built into these large investment assets, and they perform like 401ks and investment assets. And by the way, I own a lot of Bitcoin. I love Bitcoin. So I am not an anti-Bitcoin guy. I have more money in Bitcoin than I do our own projects. So there we go. And I've been very happy with that investment. But even the Bitcoin community admits they're a store of value. Right. And so to me, we said, look, payments to me is the Holy Grail, but how do we get there? And so we kind of went down this rabbit hole and said, look, one of the problems is that no one in crypto communities typically do marketing, like real marketing and real onboarding. And this makes a lot of sense, right? Because if you look at most crypto products, they're led by hardcore, super duper software engineers and developers.
100%. Yep.
Well, if anybody's ever worked around those guys, and they'll freely admit that most of those guys hate sales people in sales. They hate
people.
And they hate, well, not all of them, but they hate marketing. And so, And so I did this exercise, and I started looking at all the, non-Bitcoin projects that had like teams and websites, and you start looking at their websites, and pretty much every one of these teams out there with $1 billion market cap projects have teams.
Yep.
And everyone in charge is everyone on the team's a developer. There's no one in charge of sales or marketing, business development. That tells you a couple things. One, that organization probably doesn't value those functions, at least at a high level. And two, those functions are not probably being performed. And so we also went down and said, okay, why else could mass adoption not have happened? Why are people
hold on 1 second. Adam says yes. Yes, we do. We hate them. So I think Adam's on your side.
I love you, Adam.
There we go.
And then I love the developers on our team too. And then we said, okay, let's break it down. I'm just a simple guy. I look at things from the outside. If it doesn't make sense, I want to figure out why it's not making sense to me, because I'm a business guy. I just kind of like to solve problems. And then we said, like, okay, if you look at crypto and you saw how things were marketed early on, even now, you'll see like these influencers will be hassling a barista, at Starbucks, or hassling an Uber driver. And I'm like, hassling their grandmother. And what you're doing is,
hold on. Liberty Shamrocker says, I do lots with crypto, even launched my own coin. I use as buying power. Just to your point, she says, I ask if they take crypto. If not, I ask why. She is doing exactly what you said.
Well, here's the problem. Yeah, she is doing what she said. And like I'm saying, I'm not saying that there aren't people that don't buy certain things. There are some extremists that are pretty rare, and there are extremists. They're fringy, right? We're fringy. We're in crypto now. We're fringy. I'm still fringy. But the fact is, crypto doesn't solve payments problems for most people in the West.
Yeah.
It creates more problems for them. It's unforgiving. The UI UXs are bad. The fact is, if you can use the debit card, PayPal, Venmo, Square, Cash App, or Square, or any of those things, crypto is actually a downward step for most industries.
Yep.
So we said, if you're going to get adoption, you have to think about in terms of marketing crypto, right? Just like any other startup would. But then you have to focus on industries that have what I call a recognized problem with payments with the existing system. And in the United States today, there's only a few industries that have a recognized problem with payments. And most of those industries are distasteful to somebody. So that's why they're considered red flagged or, difficult industries. So that might be.
And the government decided they're bad.
Right. Going back to 2012. And we can get into that. Operation Choke Point. But the industries would include things like CBD, cannabis, gambling, pornography, refugee immigrants, payday lenders, and the multi-level marketing world. I didn't even know that one until very recently, believe it or not. I'm still learning. And then guns.
Yep. And guns
are lumped into it.
So what a good time to talk about guns this week. Nicely done.
Exactly. So what we did is then we said, okay, we looked at all those distressful industries. So this is the theory when we started deciding that we're going to build our own blockchain and really try to get mass adoption. we went and looked at all those different industries and said, where do you start? And we said, well, successful companies tend to start in one place, one niche, and then work their way out. So
I talk about that all the time. I scream about them focusing on your initial marketing in a niche. I love it.
So Amazon was a bookstore for a bunch of years, and it was not a fluke that they went into other industries later. Bezos had a plan. There's interviews with him from back in like 96, 97, right? I'm old and I'm dating myself here because I remember those days. But
I'm older than you, my friend. Don't worry.
You might not be that much older. I'm old. I'm younger. I'm older than I look.
Okay.
I'm almost 50. And so what happened?
I passed you.
Okay. Not that much though. But what happened is Bezos said, we wanted to start with books because they wanted to get traction. There's a lot of SKUs and covered a lot of industries, and it was ripe for, modernization. And he got traction there, then they went out. So we're looking at that. We want to do that with TUSC as well. And TUSC stands for the Universal Settlement Coin. Our focus is to eventually be Amazon for crypto, for payments. But we're starting in one of those distasteful industries that has a recognized problem. And then we looked at all the different industries in that kind of category of these red flag, evil, sinful industries. And we decided to focus on the gun industry initially. Number one, I am a freaking passionate gun nerd. Like I build guns, I shoot guns, I train, I love guns. Two, it's a $50 billion industry. So it's a big market. Three, it does have that recognized problem with payments. And four, out of all the distasteful industries, it is the one that has the most solid constitutional protection. And so we decided, so I'm the business guy, right? So I don't build it and they will come as a myth, by the way.
I completely agree.
And developers and engineers always have this wrong thinking that you build it and that will come. No, you come up with a solution to a problem, then you go find customers, then you build your company around that. And that's what we did. So we went through all that market analysis, and then I started picking up the phone and asking people at the lunch in the gun industry.
There we go.
Retailers, manufacturers, and I had a lot of lunches. Spent $500 on lunches. And I learned a lot of things. Not only do they have that recognized problem, not only do they pay sometimes up to 7% credit card transaction fees.
I was blown away when I learned 7%. That is, I mean,
so far.
That's terrible. That my God, like per transaction. What your margin has to be like 80% now. I mean, it's crazy.
It is insane. And so, but on top of that, I also found out, especially custom gun builders have a huge chargeback problem.
Right.
And so I would have known some of this stuff had I not actually started talking to potential future customers before we ever started coding.
So let me move to the next step if I can. You decide you're going to basically help facilitate gun owners or gun retailers to have people purchase their firearms through cryptocurrency versus through dollars, through credit cards, through cryptocurrency. That's been the goal. Is that correct?
That is our mission, is to protect gun retailers from debanking as an insurance policy, solve their chargeback problem, solve their transaction fee problem, and improve their cash flow. And we're going to give them free marketing to boot.
Win. But I want to go through something because I think my audience doesn't know this. That while there's obviously been an assault, or will be another assault on guns coming up here for sure, you're looking at the idea of cancel culture almost in a way, almost like a back-ended cancel culture, not canceling the gun or the gun shop, but making it to where no one can do banking with them. So it's so hard to do. It winds up crushing the shop, or they have to pay so much money, and it just keeps the gun industry down. Is that where I am?
Exactly. In fact, the gun industry was the first big cancel culture industry for way before this woke nonsense is taken over society. So it's interesting. One of the brothers of one of our development team has an FFL, and he's a federal firearms license dealer in Colorado. He told us, one of the guys I talked to, and he says it took him he had to shop 7 banks to get a checking account. For his FFL. I understand he's already background checked by the ATF, got a federal firearms license, which involves a whole lot of dog and pony show. Nick in the group would admit he'll tell you what it takes to get an FFL. And he couldn't get a bank account. I'm not even talking credit card processing, just a checking account. And the 7th bank, it was because he knew the guy from church and one of the branch managers, and he ran it through. I've heard numerous occasions where someone will set up a random LLC for their even just parts business, not even an FFL, where they sell gun related parts. They set up like Rob's Enterprises through their state. That's their LLC name. They get an EIN with that name. They go get a checking account, set up a PayPal account. And then like 3 months later into it, they're doing sales. PayPal finds out that it's gun related. Gun parts are verboten. And then they'll freeze their account for 6 months. They'll immediately cancel their PayPal account. They'll cancel any other PayPal account, personal, associated with the email address. And then they'll freeze your money for 6 months if you ever get it back.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
that is the ultimate cancel culture. And then here in the last 2 years, and this is before really the heavy woke stuff, Shopify 2 summers ago fired all their gun related businesses off their shopping cart platform.
Wow.
Not even on the payment side, on the payment side, but they said, we don't want your business. CEO came out, signed a letter. We don't want you, get off our platform. Last summer, I think it was, Salesforce.com said they don't want gun-related businesses using their CRM software.
Salesforce said that?
Salesforce hates gun people too. And so it's like, this anti-gun cancel culture has been going on for years. And
I never heard that. That's a new one for me.
Yeah. And so the tech world in Silicon Valley absolutely hates the gun world.
Yes.
A $50 billion constitutionally protected, super heavily regulated industry. Bink. They want them off.
With people who, gun people like you don't have to tell me, I know you spend money on gun stuff every year. Guaranteed. Every person I know who really likes guns, it's a hobby for them. It's part of their lifestyle. They spend money on gun stuff every year, no matter what. If you don't buy a new gun. Yes, absolutely.
It's an expensive hobby.
So they're throwing away the money. But here's the part that really, I guess, in a way makes me afraid, but in a way doesn't. And what I mean by that is, as you begin to punish any industry and make it illegal, they simply go underground. Is what they do, right? I see it in New York State, with which all of a sudden nobody has any ammunition anymore. We don't have it. I don't know where.
Nobody has ammunition anymore.
Yeah, no one has ammunition anymore.
That's called 8 million new gun owners last year.
Yes, there we go. And but no. But I mean that even if you have it, you don't. Who bought it? I didn't buy it. I didn't buy any ammunition. What are you talking about? Nobody has any ammunition. No one buys any ammunition anymore, right? Because they don't want to. There's almost a black market in purchasing things now in New York City because of our SAFE Act and red flag laws. So, but the other thing I'm seeing is this is a reaction to KYC laws, which are know your customer laws. For those who don't know that, that happened after 9/11. Right, that or even after Enron. I mean, the laws got worse and worse and worse.
Well, yeah, the Bank Secrecy Act that came out of the Patriot Act post 9/11 changed a lot of the AML KYC kind of stuff. Like that's why even with like doing mortgages, there's a big deal around that now because of that. So,
and the problem is the problem is what happens is as they put all these new laws, the people who are affected by this go someplace else. So now all the laws you put in place only make things harder for the people who are the good people, and the people who are bad have gone off to do something else because they'll get caught here. So now as you create this problem, you're going to create it to where gun owners are going to say, you know what? I'm going to buy my stuff through cryptocurrency. I'm going to try to find another way to get around banking. And guess what I'm afraid about that is, when does the government come cracking down? Right. And, who do they make the next Ross Ulbricht and put in jail forever for being a heretic or being, sacrilege against the government? That is my worry for this.
Well, we are not a privacy coin. So we're we have the same kind of level of privacy as Bitcoin. So transactions across our network are completely open and trackable. Okay. We do not do AML KYCs on accounts, just like Bitcoin. So we say it's pseudo-anonymous. So once you set up a wallet, if they can connect your wallet to who you are, then they can trace it down. But right now, the way we launched and the way, I guess to say is, we're very compliant. So we're not any legal security. So, we're going to talk about this too, but we are a non-ICO project. Meaning that we did not sell coins or tokens to fund development of the project at all. We bootstrapped. And in fact, one of the ways we got around not being an illegal security, which will help us because we will be able to be traded on American exchanges as we grow. We aren't on any yet because it's a bit license and there's a bunch of other stuff that get into that. But we gave the entire supply of our original token away for free through self drops. People had to manually go get them, and we required no activity. So we did not meet any of the points of the Howey tests. So we are not illegal security. We never sold anything. And it's interesting. I just calculated this last night. So we gave away our original token in 5 million increments. And then when we swapped to the new blockchain, we did a 2-to-1 compression. So basically everybody got 2.5 million TUSC coins, almost 3.5 years ago. Those are worth $200 now. So we gave away a supply, and it was a gift. People had to manually go grab it and stuff. I mean, we just didn't airdrop it. It was what we call a self drop. People had to manually go collect it. And those things are worth $200 now. I mean, we created a market, or we didn't. People started putting them on the market originally, but we never sold any coins. We are not an illegal security under U.S. law, which does make us one of a handful of projects that eventually will be able to be transacted on American exchanges. One of the things that the government is doing to put a damper on things, they say that if you're a licensed American fiat crypto exchange, you can't trade anything that was a possible illegal security. So anything that was pretty much every ICO done in 2017 and 2018 is probably an illegal security. So the American crypto exchanges won't list them. That's why if you look at the numbers of crypto projects that you can trade on those, they're very small numbers typically. We are also not a privacy coin. We don't do AML KYC, but we're also not trying to shield illegal activity. If you want to do illegal activity for transactions, you want to sell drugs or illegal guns, do what everybody else says, use dollars. That's the best thing for that. Don't do it digitally. And
Absolutely.
so, and that's where, and the whole thing about crypto being this, black market, well, less than 1% of Bitcoin transactions are done for, nefarious reasons. It's actually not used by criminals. What's used by criminals is dollars typically.
Absolutely.
So we've worked very hard to not be doing something to thumb our nose at the government. We're not trying to screw the government over. We are trying to fill a niche void in the gun industry right now. And that is the mom and pop size retailers that are trying to do business online. They can't afford the outrageous fees. Some of these, $500 million defense companies, they can get a little better transaction fee. It's those small mom and pops that struggle, that maybe sell one widget, one product that you're not going to be able to get it in stores. They don't have distribution. They sell online.
So how do they deal? What are your fees? I mean, obviously not 7%, but what are yours?
So this is interesting. And we did a recent pivot on this. So right now there are 0 fees for the retailer.
Zero.
The network is funded by
That's a good number.
It is a good number. And so for the retailer side, so with crypto, the buyer pays the fees. And we did a couple things when we built it. We said, one, it needs to be competitive with both speeds, and it's got to be cheaper than Visa out of the gate. So we're delegated proof of stake blockchain. So we're really fast. Our confirmation times take about 2.6 seconds on average, which is
whoa. 3 seconds for a transaction?
Less than 3 seconds. The confirmations are almost instantaneous.
Very nice.
The actual transaction fee is 50 TUSC, which is a flat fee. There's no percentage of 7% or 2%. It's a flat 50 TUSC. And right now that's equivalent to about a half a penny is what it costs to move any amount of value in TUSC right now. But the buyer pays that because crypto is reversed. Buyers pay the fees, not the sellers. Got it. So right now for retailers, it technically is free to transact on TUSC.
So I would have to pay half a cent if I'm buying the gun.
50 TUSC. Yep.
I think I could afford half a cent. I could do that.
Yeah, it's very reasonable. So so here's the thing: we pivoted. We were originally going to have a 0.5% transaction fee, and then the blockchain's been running for a year and a half, and we literally are just finishing now testing our payment gateways. Our first payment gateways we're finishing it this week. We'll be rolling them out to the public next week. So that's why I'm starting to talk, and we're starting to roll out some marketing, because now we actually have a way for retailers to really, put the plugins on their website, and they can accept it just like PayPal on their website now. And so we're doing that. We got an integration with a company called forgingblock.io. That's where if anybody just wants to accept TUSC, they download those little plugins. There's 7 or 8 different shopping cart software supported. They put the plugin on, they can accept TUSC. And so, and it doesn't cost anything. And so the thing is, then, and one of the things we talked about earlier is that most cryptos are viewed as, and this is important, most cryptocurrencies are viewed as investments.
Sure.
And we've worked very hard to not tell people we're an investment.
Yes.
Okay. And there's a couple of things we did in the design that a lot of people didn't like and don't understand. So like a lot of cryptos are deflationary, meaning that they have a cap supply, like Bitcoin's going to have 21 million.
Yep.
We do not have a cap supply. So what that means is that we have a controlled annual inflation rate set by it's a parameter in the software set by the committee that's elected to do that. Right now it's set at 5% because we're at the bottom, and we need the block producers, the miners in our network that run the network, have to get paid to cover the server costs.
Right.
And right now a block producer makes about $6,500 a year with the current price of TUSC if they run a node for the network. And so they get paid out of the block rewards. And that's what funds the network, not transaction fees. That there will be that little 50 TUSC, but that's going to be a minuscule amount of money. So we said, one, if we don't cap the block rewards, or I'm sorry, or the supply,
sure,
it's gonna inflate. But here's the thing: it's a controlled inflation, and people know what that is, and it's adjustable, and we're going to adjust that down as the value of TUSC increases. But the thing is, when people, you don't have to cap supply. Bitcoin did not have to cap its supply. Dash does not have to cap the supply. And here's the thing: it's artificially created scarcity.
Yes.
And artificial scarcity, when you add artificial scarcity, just like De Beers does with diamonds, artificial scarcity, what does it do? Makes the value go up. So artificial scarcity increases the value of something that's in demand. And so De Beers does this with diamonds, but the Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto did the same thing with Bitcoin.
Yeah, but my point is, you're doing this because you don't want it to all of a sudden multiply by 50 overnight.
I think as we grow, it will go up in value. So, but my point is, we don't want to position TUSC as this investment. I think eventually, I mean, we're going to probably we're at the bottom. So it's like, we can only go up really from here. And I think it will as we get more popular, and then it'll settle out, and we'll have the market will determine what the value is, and it'll come to an equilibrium. But if you start putting artificial,
I want to touch on that. I think is really interesting here.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough to think of anything more libertarian than buying guns with cryptocurrency. That's like really up there in libertarian world, right?
Or buying weed with guns with crypto.
That'd be another one, right? That'd be yes, buying weed with guns with another one, yes. But that's pretty high up there in libertarian world. But what you're talking about, the way you're running organization, it's very socialistic in that there's voting for what people do. The people kind of control it. Everyone who has, if I remember, everyone who has a TUSC gets a vote or something like that. Isn't that how that works?
Exactly. And so it is a delegated proof of stake blockchain, which means that one TUSC is one vote. The other thing we have that's built in and self-sufficient about the network is block rewards. Every time block rewards are created, they're divided into a couple pools. So the block producers that go through and run the network, they have to get paid the most. And then the marketing partner, we have a term limited and elected marketing body that gets funded. So we have marketing funded ongoing because we believe that is important to onboarding people to a new technology and a new service.
Yep.
And then we have this worker proposal fund. So if someone wants to do marketing or do development or whatever they can imagine, anybody who has TUSC can put in proposal, and then they can get it voted on and get funded and paid in TUSC. And all of that is funded through block rewards. It doesn't have to come from some 7% transaction fee. And I think the other thing, which is different, because it sounds too good to be true until you understand the differences between how credit cards work and how crypto works. We're peer-to-peer. There's no middleman. If you look at how credit cards are funded, there's like a whole stack of people just grifting middlemen in the whole SWIFT system when you're doing payment settlements and stuff with credit cards. And they're all taking transactional fees instead of some kind of flat fee. I mean, Visa could say, oh, it's only going to cost you 10 cents to move money around. They don't have to charge a percentage.
Right.
They make a lot of more money charging a percentage, right?
Absolutely. Sure.
And so, but we also know that in the credit card world, it's a race to the bottom with fees because everybody in credit card processing is trying to undercut each guy a little bit more with a 0.25% here, 0.1% there. And we said, look, the future is going to be crypto payments, and it may not be TUSC. It may be somebody else is the guy who wins that race, right? We're just kind of in that race. But if we are completely self-sustainable, and the blockchain's been operating for a year and a half, completely funded by block rewards. And so we said, why change that? Okay, because we're not greedy. We're a decentralized project. We're not a for-profit company. We're kind of like a nonprofit combined with a co-op with the voting. And
That's
so
what I'm saying. This is kind of like gonna make some people's heads gonna explode. This is kind of like libertarian socialism.
well, you know what? It's like the thing is there's no coercion. So I think
That's
ultimately
my exact point of libertarian socialism. No coercion. People deciding to act this way, almost like worker owned in a way, or I'm not customer owned. I'm kind of both owned.
I hate the word stakeholder, but stakeholder owned probably makes sense.
There we go. Stakeholder owned. There we go.
And so, but ultimately, it's a delegated proof of stake blockchain, and people can vote on how the things are operated. I am just the figurehead because I got a big mouth, and I'm the extrovert of the group. But we have a whole lot of people working on it behind the scenes. But we also feel that even, that's another tough one. How do you market a decentralized project? So that was the whole marketing partner thing. That's one of the things that's a little different about us. We said, because I come from a sales and marketing entrepreneurial background. So to me, I'm like, you got to do sales. You got to shake hands. You got to go to conferences. You got to let people know what you're doing.
So you're actually going to gun conferences as a crypto company.
Yes, as a crypto project, we're not a company. We're no LLC, no C corp.
As a crypto project, I don't want to get you in trouble.
Crypto project. Well, I just want to be clear that there is no company. So, at some point there may be a foundation that needs to be built, but right now we're just a protocol. And so like in 2020 sucked because of COVID, because all the in-person stuff got canceled. But in 2019, I went to the Gun Rights Policy Conference, the NRA conference or convention. I went to SHOT Show, and we are now, because I'm vaccinated, we're going through a bunch of in-person stuff. So this year, and kind of about, this TUSC is sponsoring as a major sponsor the first gun maker match competition. So Rob Pincus. So Rob Pincus is doing a thing in Florida in June. And this is going to be a cool event. So it's the first of its kind shooting competition for DIY and 3D printed guns. So 80% made guns.
Look at that.
And those are really fun. This is the cool thing about TUSC. Okay. So a guy out of Mississippi who's a gun builder, I didn't even know about this event. And he said, Rob, I want to sponsor a TUSC team to go from like Mississippi over to Florida and shoot. And on behalf of TUSC, do you think I could put in a proposal and get that funded through the network? I go, that's amazing. So he put in a proposal to fund jerseys, ammunition, training, travel. And I'm like, well, I want to go now too. So I'm going to shoot on the team. And then I said, this is a pretty interesting event. And then I started researching it. And then I called Rob Pincus up and I go, this is a cool event. How can we get more involved? We've got a team going now. So someone came up with an idea in the community. He likes what we're doing with TUSC. Right. Just called me because they like to get my input. But, and I said, hey, that's a cool idea. And meaning I'd support it. Sure. I don't have controlling votes at the network, but I got a lot of influence just because of my position with the project. I'm one of the co-founders. So I said, that's awesome. But he put in a proposal. It got funded. So the community voted on it. And so then I called Rob Pincus. And I said, I looked at their website. I'm like, I really like what you're doing with this. And so I said, is there any way we could get TUSC involved as a whole sponsor of the whole event? And so Rob Pincus just put in a separate proposal. So where now what's happening is TUSC is going to actually offset. And they put in a proposal. I don't know if it's gotten approved yet because I think they just put it in yesterday. And so what we're going to do, though, I think it's going to pass because it's a cool idea. What they're going to do is that we're going to offset the price of every ticket with the equivalent amount of TUSC. So every person who shoots in the competition gets, I think it's like $50 a ticket or per event. Every person that signs up for that event is going to get that much back. So we're going to essentially try to make the competition free.
I like that.
And so, but this again is just, they have to put in, but Rob's got to put in the proposal, the community's got to vote on it, and then it gets funded. And so, and it's really kind of cool because this worker proposal thing, and we got some cool ideas from the community. And this is what I like about this project, because people are like, because I can't be everywhere.
It's good. It's good leadership to allow the people on the ground to give you the input that you want. And I love the idea. It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
And so that's one thing. So we didn't cap the supply because we don't want to create this artificial scarcity that would boost the value once it got demanded, because we just don't want people to think of it as like buy and hold. We want people to spend it. And here's the thing, to me, I'm focused on the mission of adoption, because to me, I believe that cryptocurrency and blockchain technology is not going away. I believe these are some of my beliefs. I believe that it's going to fundamentally change finance. I also believe much in the way like guns are a tool that can be used for good or evil. I think blockchain and crypto can also be used for good and evil. And to me, it doesn't matter how big a market cap of a crypto project is if no one's actually using it.
Yes,
and I
that's
want
the big deal.
and to me, it's like we got to focus on getting people used to it. That means getting comfortable with the brand, getting comfortable with how to use, set up wallets and how to use all these different things. And somebody's got to hold their hand. And a lot of crypto projects have this build that they will come, read RTFM. We don't want to talk to you because we're developers. And I spend more time going to gun-related conferences than I do crypto conferences because I'm like, that's where the customers are.
Yeah,
that's where the people who have a problem are. We need to spend time with there because regardless of this whole like trustless thing that you see in crypto, people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And I can tell you when I go to these events and you explain to crypto and you have enough time to talk about it with people, it's like light bulb. This solves a big freaking problem for these people and they love it. And here's the thing. It's like no one from any other crypto project is going there.
Well, this is funny you brought this up, right? I mean, I've been talking about this as a way of solving, believe it or not, New York State's education problem. You're basically trying, even though not in the long run, a short run, basically create a gun coin, right? He's basically trying to create it in theory, right? Something that people buy guns with this coin. I was trying to create that that's how we pay for our education. Our education is so insanely, and the way I get people to adopt it is our education in New York State is about a $60 billion industry.
Wow.
So I just say, if you want that money, you have to take it in our new coin. And then banks get a transaction fee to shift it back into dollars.
It's like EBT.
Yes, exactly right.
EBT. Like people don't understand. Everybody's like, and I was just talking to someone about this today, EBT, right? EBT was to reduce the stigma of food stamps. But the reality was, it was that banks wanted to get that transaction fee.
That's exactly right. And this is why I bring this up. People think I'm crazy, but then when they hear me talk about it, they go, wow, that does make sense. Because if I just made $60 billion in a coin, nobody would care. But if I said, no, if you want this money that it's already part of your budget, $60 billion in New York State education, you'll take it any way I give it to you. And if I decide to give it to you in education coin, you'll take it, and banks will be fine as long as you get a transaction fee, change it back into dollars, life is good. So I actually was thinking about this already as a way of doing it, but only for education, for nothing else. That was my concept, but I got a feeling I'd get sued anyway. But I do appreciate it.
Well, one of the things that we have, we're probably going to build it in. We have a little bit of a split already. We're going to put a little charity fund built in. So this is the cool thing about our project is that we can morph and evolve. So one of the things that we've been mulling around as a team later on is to basically slice up those block rewards a little differently. So as we grow, the amount of money we'll have to spend on marketing will probably have to subside as we are more successful and people know who we are. And so we'll probably shift, and this is what I'm advocating, is that we'll have to shift, and this will be done on the protocol and voted on and all that kind of stuff, but we'll move some of those funds into a charity fund. And then what I would like to do over time is have it so that let's just say you want to buy a gun, we have to figure out how to process this, but we can onboard a charity like in the gun space, like Gun Owners of America or Firearms Policy.
There's a problem, though, I think, and you're already talking about it, right? Which is the idea that when you say it's crypto and or gun, social media will very often try to shut you down. It's very easy for them to shut you down, to somehow, shut you out, censor you, whatever the case may be. And it's a challenge. And with that in mind, guys, you know who my sponsor is, theadvocates.org. So head over and take the censorship and free speech survey. Did you see that cool segue, Rob? That was a good segue. So yes, head it over there and take that if you would. You know my sponsors like it. It's very important. They love what we do here. You see it in the actual show description. Click that, take the survey, finish the survey. Don't just go there and look at it. Finish that survey and then share it on social media, either on Twitter or on Facebook. It's free. It makes my sponsors happy. They're happy. Life is good. And if you want to do more, if you like what I'm doing, then throw me some money directly. Patreon.com/SharpeWay. $10, $25, whatever you got. If you're getting those big Biden bucks right now, no worries. Throw $100 my way. I appreciate that. It's awesome. And you know what else is free? Like, comment, share. All free. Any of those. And we rock and we roll. But I want to ask something else of you, Rob, if I could.
Sure.
If someone's interested right now, like, man, this sounds cool, right? I want to help. Is helping you finding you a gun retailer? Is that the way to help this?
So where we are literally, so what we haven't actually formally announced it yet, but we're going to be rolling out payment gateways to the public probably this week, and our first third-party mobile wallet integration this week. So you'll kind of hear it here, but we're going to do the official announcements. So what that means is that we can start onboarding retailers. So we've been talking to a lot of, actually on a national basis, some big players, and they're kind of, getting aware of us. We do have several folks that have been in our beta program. In fact, Nick was in here earlier from Eastside Traders. They're actually in upstate New York. They are one of the first retailers to accept TUSC. So I got to talk to you about getting your payment gateway up, Nick. We already have a body armor company in Spanish Fork, Utah, that accepts TUSC right now. They've been processing the transaction manually because, like I said, our blockchain's been up for a year and a half, and now so you can buy body armor right now at citizenarmor.com with TUSC. And so I want to touch on something someone said in the group. How are we getting people to onboard? So this is the general.
Let me grab some comments since you're looking at them, and that's the one I'll bring up right now. Paul asks, how are you marketing it to branded people to use it? Do you want this to go mainstream? Perfect timing. Go ahead.
Yes. Simple. The question is, yes, we do want to go mainstream because I believe the more people that actually use a cryptocurrency for buying and selling things, the better we're getting them off the dollar, getting them out of the Federal Reserve System. So that is the goal. How we do it, simple. We believe that and even though they're not customers, we think as retailers are our target market customer. And the idea is that if they're paying right now 7% using one of the mainstream point of sale systems that are two-way friendly, or even 6 or 5%, they can discount the sale to their customers to buy from them. So what we're doing is we're providing the educational materials, and we got a whole plan on how we're doing this. But the idea is we're educating our retailers how they can discount to their customers to buy things from them in TUSC. And what happens is, one, they improve their cash flow. So it's really beneficial to the retailer. Two, they still make more profit. So even if they said, I'll drop it 4%, they're still making a couple extra percentage points or what have you, profit over the credit card transaction fee. They get instant settlement. So once their coin hits their wallet in 2.6 seconds, they have access to it. They can sell it. They can hold it, whatever they want to do. Improves their cash flow. But on top of that, it eliminates their chargeback risks. So it's highly beneficial for retailers to onboard their own customers by incentivizing them with discounts.
Got it.
And so that has been our kind of our focus on how we plan to get adoption. And then literally our focus has been holding the hand of the retailers, teaching them how to use it, setting up wallets, walking people through proposals. And over time, we're going to be, we'll make it a lot easier. Our user experience and interface stuff's got to improve. The on-ramps are all improved. This year, we're focused on right now is building our infrastructure and liquidity. And that's just a growth process of doing what we're doing right now. And then really onboarding as many retailers. So I think the ideal client right now is probably a small mom and pop shop.
There we go.
Because those are the ones that seem to have the worst problem with fees because they don't have any buying power. And we can hold their hand and we'll walk them through the process. My goal is to get about 100 retailers over the next year, kind of on board the system, and then see where it goes. So this year is all about building infrastructure. We're building out our marketing team now. We got a lot of viral content we're going to be producing to grow it. I'm probably going to be I'm looking at even going to Liberty Fest this year up in Rapid City. And so we're talking to those guys, trying to figure out if we could sponsor that, but it's a much bigger event. So we still have a budget too. Are you heading to Freedom Fest in South Dakota this year? Yeah. And it's funny because I used to live right near there too. So
I'll be there too. I'm speaking there. I got my like 3 panels or something. So I'll be there too.
Been talking with them. They're talking about trying to get me on a panel. So it'd be interesting.
There we go.
And so
maybe we'll be in the same panel. It's cool. Maybe I'll MC it or something. That'd be awesome.
I would love that.
There we go.
But the number one thing that I'm focused on as far as doing the outreach, in fact, we're building like a social media and marketing team, but we're going to be doing a lot of filming and stuff. And I said, I want everybody working on this project to make money from it for their time. I don't expect freebies, and I want everybody to have fun. Because you know what, the mission is very serious and I'm very driven toward that mission, but I want everybody to get paid in TUSC. I want everybody to start building that ecosystem out. But I want to enjoy this because this is really fun stuff. It's cool, bleeding edge technology. And
let me grab some more comments. The people, they want to comment. Jimmy says, big banks always want a way to gain transaction fees. Yes, Jimmy, that's absolutely true. 100%. Peter asks, what equipment's needed to mine TUSC?
So we are delegated proof of stake. So right now, so in our network, we have 21 validating nodes, and they're elected to the position. The actual technical requirements are very modest, especially right now. So some people are running just on a cloud server, and some of them is small enough that you could run it on a free version of like AWS T2 micro free version. But the difference between proof of stake and delegated proof of stake is that you have to be elected to that position.
Got it.
And so what happens is it actually is kind of interesting. So block producers, and how I make money, because I want to make money, I run a block producer node. Mine is called Ready Rhino. My wife and I are co-founders, but we run the Ready Rhino block TUSC block producer. And so the idea is that since you have to campaign to get elected, to get that role, and it will be very lucrative over time, we hope, as we grow and get more popular and more transactions run through the network. So we have 21 validating nodes, and then we have 79 paid backups. So if one of those 21 go down, it instantly you can vote in a backup block producer from the pool. So we have about 100 nodes running all the time, and they all get paid something. And that's how our network's different. So some people don't like the delegated proof of stake concept. Some people say because there's just not as many validating nodes, like on Bitcoin, there's like hundreds of thousands, that it's not as it's not as secure. There's disagreements on that, but they're trade-offs. We have 2.6 second block times, which is, in my opinion, you need that if you want to actually be scalable out of the gate for retail. We built it for retail, and I think that we certainly are secure. And so I think ultimately it's that elected piece that's important, and part of that is we don't elect people that we don't know.
There we go. So Peter, you better start hanging out with these guys. That's your thing. Start hanging out with them. You should probably do
$40 a month VPS is more than enough to run a block producer for TUSC. And then
there we go. And
essentially, with TUSC, I mean, we're a small community that's growing, but we all know each other, like not necessarily in person, but I mean, we've been told, like some of the founders, we're in our Telegram group and our Discord every single day. We are very accessible. I'm easy to find, and we're always having comments about different things. So it's like after a couple of years, you kind of get to know, hey, who's doing what. And the cool thing about being a block producer, we have we have websites that are like campaign websites. You're like, hey, this vote for me for block producer candidate because this is what I do for TUSC.
I love it.
And to me, I always tell people I'm going to always vote to the betterment of the network. I try to be as objective as I can be. I don't have controlling votes, but I do have a good chunk of votes. And I'm saying, look, if you're kicking ass and you're supporting, you're building stuff for the network, or you're in, and I don't just look at the development stuff. I'm like, if you're out there, trying to help with marketing, and if you're just doing memes every day, all that stuff is needed because it's, blockchain.
So you're campaigning to actually get a piece of it. I like that. That's actually pretty cool.
You have to.
Good.
You have to.
So let me go to Jimmy now. Jimmy says, so I have a question. As much as I hate taxes, the big government wants our money through taxes. How would they tax cryptocurrency for, let's say, the purchase of a gun? Do you know how that works?
It doesn't matter. The payment methods are not regulated. So this is interesting because this question comes up a lot. The federal government does not regulate payment methods for firearms at all. Okay. You can pay with gold bars. You can pay with cigarettes. You can pay with cash, check, credit cards, debit card, Venmo, Square, whatever the seller, the FFL, is willing to accept. You can pay for it because the government does not regulate payment methods. And so now that doesn't change anything. So even if you're going to buy a real gun, right, you still have to do the 4473 form, get the background check, and comply with federal law. TUSC doesn't change any of that. We are not trying to do proliferation of illegal guns or street guns. I said, look, if you want to buy an illegal gun or you're a prohibited person, go do it with freaking cash. Okay, don't do it with TUSC. I mean, seriously, do it with cash. It's the safest way. I wouldn't do it with Bitcoin either. If I was going to, here's the thing that people get all oh, I'll do with Bitcoin or whatever. I'm like, don't do any illegal shit with crypto. Just don't.
Yeah. Cash is always better.
Cash is much better. That's my honest opinion. And I love crypto. But
Logan asked, any plans going to Canada?
I love Canada. So I learned to drink in Canada because I'm from Detroit originally. And so we used to cross the border to go to Windsor and drink from age 19 to 21. As far as go to Canada, right now, we're already a global project. So even one of the block producer nodes I know for a fact is in Hanoi, Vietnam. We have servers all over the world running the network. So this is a thing it's funny because our original, when we originally distributed the supply of our token, a lot of it went abroad. Like there's probably more
Mm.
Tusk in other countries than there is in the United States right now.
Wow.
And we have team members from all over. In fact, we got people in our group that are from South Africa that are pro-gun people from New Zealand, people from Asia. It's already a global project, and
There we go.
we've got a developer in. I mean, it's interesting. So like we work with the group that's doing the mobile wallet. They're like in Europe and Asia. I think the forging block guys, half their team is distributed in like Russia and in the United States and spread around. I mean, crypto is everywhere. And
I love that.
And Tusk, and this is where I like tell people like, okay, could the government shut it down? Like, could the government take me out? Sure. If the government wants to take me out, they can take me out. But I don't control the network. Once we turned on the network essentially and turned the control of the network to the block producers, I can't shut it down if I wanted to.
Well,
and trust
that's
me, there's
the biggest point yet that I love you brought up, right? Even if you wanted to start canceling people, you can't.
There's no functionality to shut down accounts for political reasons like we're seeing with everybody else. And trust me, there's some jerks that have accounts on our network that I would love to shut down just because they're just assholes.
Right.
Excuse my language. But the reality is I don't have that power, and no one has that power. It's just not part of what a blockchain does.
Right.
And so, and that's that anti-cancel culture kind of thing that's just kind of inherent with it.
So I want to grab Adam's question because I don't know what this means myself. Is the algorithm susceptible to the ASIC optimization? It's easy to get squeezed out of mining coins with the wrong kind of encryption. I don't even know what that means. So help me out with that.
So ASICs are specialized computers that all they do is solve puzzles. And those are usually used to mine proof of work blockchains like, say, Bitcoin. We don't have mining like that. So our block producers don't have to solve these complicated puzzles. So you don't need a complicated computer that's dedicated to solve those puzzles. So our network just kind of, our block producers just kind of talk to each other, but because they're elected to that position, it's a different type of security. So it really doesn't matter if you have an ASIC. Yeah, in fact, I don't even think our algorithm would work with most of the ASICs. Well, I don't think they would even support it because we're not a mineable coin. That's not how our blocks get produced. So it's just a different technology. So the three types of blockchains are proof of work, proof of stake, and delegated proof of stake. We're delegated proof of stake, and that's that elected piece, and that's where we get a lot of our security from.
There we go. Paula says she thinks it's going to be big, so that's positive, I guess, right?
Well, thank you.
With bets, yes.
Well, I certainly hope so. I can tell you the good thing is we're in very sustainable position. So there's no full-time people that work on TUSC other than me probably. And everybody's got like a day job. I do work a lot of hours. I haven't made a dime from it. I've invested 6 digits of my personal income into it over the last 3 years to make it get to this point. That's that bootstrap part. But right now, where we are is we have no debt. We have virtually no overhead. Literally the overhead to run a couple of nodes that we make sure that there's always a couple API nodes is about $100 a month. That's the overhead for the whole network. It's $100 a month to run the network, essentially. And that's just to get an API node to connect to the blockchain. It's not the blockchain itself. And then we have no debt, no overhead. We're not running away from a burn rate. Right now, our market cap's about $4 million. Our volume is growing. But the cool thing is that we have this worker proposal fund has about $500,000 in it.
Nice.
So with the current value of TUSC is about a little over $500,000 in the worker fund that can pay developers and can pay to grow it with marketing and things of that nature. So we have cash in the bank, so to speak. No debt, no overhead, no burn rate. And we got a working product and we got customers signing up. If we were a startup, I would like it, but
yes,
and there's no way. And I can't sell you TUSC if you wanted me to. If you want TUSC, we're on 5 exchanges. Our URL or our ticker is TUSC. If you go to our website at tusk.network, there's a list of those under exchanges if you're interested.
So it's tusk.network.
Is the URL. Yes.
There we go. TUSC.network. I like it. So Nick says, Larry has my vote. I haven't run yet, but fine. We're just east of Rochester, and you and Rob have our support any way we can. Thank you. Open minds is our future. I like that. So Nick is on your side. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and Nick was one of the first stores to he's actually one of the first retailers to accept TUSC. And so he's been doing transactions manually. So he's one of our early supporters and we love him. And like I said, I got to talk to you because we got like the
there we go. Liberty says, how receptive has TUSC been at gun conventions? Have people been coming to you, or have you been like the oddball and no one's paying attention to you? Like, how has it been when you're going there?
So it's interesting. So if I get more crap when I go to crypto conferences because we're not Bitcoin, and a lot of crypto conferences don't like the
Oh.
maxis don't like competing. They view competing coins. I love Bitcoin, so it's like I view like Bitcoin as the 401k and we're the cash and kind of thing. And
Mm.
so and so to me, I love Bitcoin and I own a lot of Bitcoin. Like I actually literally own more Bitcoin than I do TUSC. And so it's like to me, it's like I'm hoping Bitcoin skyrockets, and we have trading pairs with Bitcoin. So it's like it's all good for me if Bitcoin goes up.
Right, right, right.
In our project. But ultimately, the reception's been very good so far. So like
Nice.
we had an article 6 weeks ago went out and at the so 6 weeks ago our market cap was 800,000, is about 4 million now. One article put our market cap up to 13 million temporarily, no 8 million
Wow.
temporarily, and then our volume was like zero or $100 a day or something, and our temporarily it went up to 13K a day and then went kind of down, but now even our volume is above 1,000 a day already. So like one article just talking about it, what we're doing in the gun space literally has like gotten us a lot of new helpers, a lot of people coming in, and so the reception's been really good. Blockchain technology, I mean, a lot of people in the gun space and 2A space, there's a lot of older boomer types. So it's like sometimes technology is slow. And I think, right now, though, I can tell you we've been getting people calling me out of the blue. Like gun stores, I just had a gun store call me in North Carolina. They're like, I'm paying 7% on this payment system in the gun space. And I'm like, you're kidding me. Because I didn't think it was that much. I thought most of them were paying like 4 to 6%, which is still high. And even then, we're still way better than that, but like 7%. And I'm like, that's ridiculous.
I see what you're going, because I could definitely imagine that, the more conservative or older generation is going to say, this crypto stuff is just like a scam. I can imagine them feeling that. But I guess when you go from 7% to half a penny, I don't know, that makes them rethink a bit. Am I wrong?
I think so far, yes. And I think ultimately it's going to matter because right now I always say I say, look at this, set up a payment gateway. Let's get you in the system. Let's teach you how to use it. Tell your customers about it. Let's help them on board. But let's just be an insurance policy in case the rug gets pulled out from under you from your credit card processor. Your bank decides to screw you over. You already have something else in place. So you have a continuity of business solution. So ultimately, I think as we grow, this is a multi-year process. And
Sure.
The cool thing is we're set sustainably to last a multi-year process. I think we're trying to build something that'll be here in 50 years. And so ultimately, I'm not on a timeline. We're sustainable. We're sustainable in perpetuity right now. And so ultimately, it's just going to be the fact is the economics and the politics are going to drive people out of the traditional legacy system. And that industry doesn't want the business of the gun industry. And so, and ultimately, I think even like when it comes to like Odyssey, which is a blockchain solution comparable to YouTube, they're going to grow because for the debanking issue, Minds instead of Twitter. I think these blockchain type solutions are where we need to be looking so we can actually keep having not only freedom of speech, but freedom to transact. Yes. And I think it is a fundamental freedom. And ultimately, you have to look at decentralized technologies. It may not be TUSC that is the one that wins this race in some point. I'm fully aware that, maybe someone else will, come up, start, and they'll see the gun industry and they'll get there faster than we can. I accept that. That's always a possibility, right? But I can tell you somebody's going to do it and get a decentralized technology into the space because they need it. They need it. They're desperate and they are hanging by a thread. And I would say, it'd be very interesting to see where we are in 4 to 6 years under the current administration and what they're going to do to the gun industry. And you got to remember, no one forced Salesforce to screw over the gun industry. No one forced Shopify to cancel out the gun industry. So understand that you don't have to have Biden pass an executive, illegal or unconstitutional executive order to screw the gun industry. But if they say, we really don't like guns, and wink, nod, Mr. Banker, our bank examiners are going to, feel, very strongly that you should get rid of your gun clients. Right. So what does that do? Right. And so that's my point. What do you got? They don't have anything else.
Right.
So it's like,
I'm with you.
So eventually it'll be someone else, us or someone else who's going to do it. But, I'm here now and we're here with our project and we're working really hard to make that happen and help onboard these people. I think some people are never going to do it. And I think, a lot of people are going to be open to the concept. And ultimately that's how change happens. I mean, look back now and you look how many people in 1998 said they'd never put a credit card into a web browser, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Well,
Absolutely.
show me one gun part accessory manufacturer that doesn't use Amazon or use
Absolutely.
e-commerce now.
Yep.
And
So,
so I believe that long-term cryptocurrencies and decentralized technologies will have that much of a paradigm effect and change on finance.
so before we wrap this up, is there anything else I missed? Some part that maybe I should have brought up and I didn't bring up, or something you want to get out there that I failed to mention?
No, one, I have to say you did your homework. So we didn't even talk before this. And you did your homework. And I appreciate that as someone who is a podcaster, because you were asking me questions. I'm like, there's no way you just guessed that. You did some research. So thank you. And I appreciate you taking the time to really look at what we're doing and give us this kind of this podium to talk to your audience and talk about what we're doing. No, I think you covered most of the big things. All I can say is if you're interested in helping, if you can code, if you can market, we need someone who can make a lot of memes. So if you got someone that's really into memeing, we need a meme guru.
I got tons of those. They're listening right now. You're going to get some emails. So if you want to reach out to Rob specifically, head over to robmcnealy.com. If you want to talk about him or see what he's doing himself. If you want to check out TUSC, is TUSC, TUSC.network. To check out TUSC, that's tusk.network, or robmcnealy.com. Either one of those, check them out. Rob, thank you so much for coming today. I appreciate that.
Well, Larry, this has been a great time. And if you ever want to have me back on, I love talking with you.
There we go. Everyone else, thank you guys so much for this evening. I will see you all next